Alright, what's going on, beautiful jellyfish? It's Tracy. This is part 2 of my Superfriends EDH deck tech. And, if you haven't seen part 1, definitely do that, but this video we're going to be talking all about the Planeswalkers. The deck runs 25 Planeswalkers, which I think is a really appropriate number. I can see myself potentially running, like, 1 or 2 more, and maybe doing like 26, 27, but I don't think I can see myself running more than that. I know some lists run like 30 or whatever. Some lists run like less than that, but I think 25 so far for me has been a really good number. I do think that the Planeswalkers some of them are high mana cost, so I think getting some lower mana cost ones are going to be really good. Some Planeswalkers I am looking to potentially add in the future is I do really like the new one from Conspiracy, Kaya. I think she's awesome. And as soon as I saw her, I was like, well, I really need this from Superfriends. So she's really good. And another Planeswalker that I'm considering getting is, I can't remember if it's the new Nissa or the new Chandra or both of them that are coming out in Kaladesh. I don't know what it is, but moral of the story is I think I just need both of them because I think they're, like, super sweet. Which, by the way, like, that set comes out soon and I'm really stoked for it. I'm really excited for Kaladesh. I'm excited to do videos, too. I don't even know how I'm going to have time, but I'm going to find time to film videos for you guys because I gotta do it. Okay, so let's get started with the Planeswalkers. There's a lot of really fun stuff in here. I also like the flexibility that you have with Planeswalkers. This deck is such a flexible deck, which is awesome, and I love that about it. I actually think I have a little bit too much mana acceleration. I think I need to cut 1 or 2 cards, not many, like 1 or 2 cards, just so that I can get my, I can just get things, I can put another Planeswalker in here or whatever, because I do think I want to do like 27. 27 is my lucky number, so I don't know. We'll see. The first Planeswalker I have is Ajani, Mentor of Heroes. The first plus ability is not the most relevant thing in the world. Also, I hope you guys can hear my voice okay, because I'm sure you guys will be able to hear this fine. I'm sitting up, so my voice isn't as close to the camera, but honestly, like, I was laying down, like, on my stomach, and that, like, really hurts if you do it for a while. My floor is not the most comfortable place, so, I hope you guys can hear me okay. But yeah, Ajani, Mentor of Heroes. The first ability is not super relevant, but his second plus ability, sometimes the first ability is, but most of the time you use the second plus. The reason actually why I run more creatures in this deck than most is because, I really want to get his first plus, and I want to make sure I get value out of that, because there are so many times where I Ajani and I get absolutely nothing, and I lose so much advantage, and I lose all those cards, which is awful. So I really wanted to make sure I could hit off, something with Ajani. And, his minus, a lot of times you gain 100 life and people are like, yeah, I can't actually answer that, so I'm gonna scoop up my cards now, and that's actually just what happens. So, yeah, Ajani, Mentor of Heroes is really, really good. One of the best Planeswalkers in this deck. He's so good. Then we have Ajani Steadfast. So the first ability, is really, like I said, not the most relevant thing because you're not really running that many creatures, and attacking with creatures isn't really how you win a lot of times, unless, again, you ult Sorin Grim Nemesis and you just make a ton of tokens. But most of the time you win by getting off Planeswalker ults. People just kind of scoop up their cards to you. It kind of just depends. Depends on who you're playing against, depends on the state of the game, whatever. The minus ability, getting to activate, an additional loyalty counter to your Planeswalkers is really great. And it's really good, too, if you, like, know that you don't have a lot of creatures on board and you don't have a board wipe and you know that your Planeswalkers are gonna, like, Ajani's probably gonna die, so it's really, his minus ability is really good for, giving another Planeswalker loyalty. And his ult is just one of the most devastating ults of the game. Having someone swing at you for 100 and only taking 1 of that damage is just really good. Yeah, the card's just nuts. Ajani Steadfast is great. And he's only 4 mana too, which makes him really easy to cast. Then we have Ashiok. I have played with Ashiok for a long time. I've played with her in Modern before, and she's just really, really good. I really like her abilities because her plus and minus synergize so well together in this deck because you don't run a lot of creatures. So getting the chance to steal someone's creatures so that they can't cast them. So even if, like, you exile them with with Ashiok, then they can't cast them, and then you have the potential to cast them, which is just really, really good. Sorry, I'm, like, shuffling my cards behind me because the deck is in order, and that's really bothering me. So I'm shuffling. If you hear noise, that's what it is. But yeah, and then, you know, the minus isn't, to me, the most relevant thing, but it can be if you're playing against someone who has, like, Reliquary Tower online, and then they have, like, a lot of cards in their graveyard, which is just really good. And then they have, like, no graveyard left, which is awesome. So Ashiok's super good. Then we have Chandra Nalaar. To be honest, I think I'm going to take out Chandra in the future, but I'm not sure right now. I like her because she's basically just, like, she just kills things. You know, she just kills things with fire, basically. I don't know if I'm going to hang on. Like, I don't know at this moment. I think I may replace her in the future with the new Chandra. Not the one from Kaladesh, the one... Well, I like the one from Kaladesh, too. I may do that. But, Chandra Flamecaller, the one in, that card's really great. I've, like, seen that in a lot of people's lists, and she's, like, a mini board wipe, but she makes tokens. But the only thing about those tokens is that they don't, is that they just go away. You know, like, they're attacker tokens. And I don't like that, because you need blockers in this deck. You don't need creatures to really be attacking. So, I don't know. We'll kind of see. But so far, it's Chandra Nalaar, and she's okay. Then we have Elspeth Knight Errant. She's nuts. Her first ability, she makes a dude. Awesome. Her second plus ability, she gives something +3/+3 and flying. Probably don't really care about that ability. But then her minus, you know, basically a lot of your stuff is just indestructible. Sounds good to me. Sounds really good to me. She's awesome. And then we have one of the best planeswalkers ever, Elspeth Sun's Champion. This is one of Tracy's favorite Magic cards, period. Because she's nuts. You know, like, just the ability to, honestly, like, make 3 tokens, attack with them, next turn, and then make more tokens. She is the best planeswalker to protect other planeswalkers. She just goes down as one of my favorite planeswalkers of all time. She's also a mini board wipe, so sometimes, like, you know what, you don't have any creatures online, or you have, like, you know, you don't have anything that she's going to kill, basically. So then you can use her minus, and then her -8, all your stuff just gets really big, which sometimes just is enough to, like, win the game. So, yeah, Elspeth Sun's Champion is forever just one of my favorite cards, and I love her. Then we have Freyalise. And Freyalise is in Spanish, so if you can't read Spanish, you're not going to be able to read her. But Freyalise is 5 mana, she starts off with 3 loyalty. Her +1, she makes a 1/1 elf droid token, I believe. Okay, awesome. And then that token taps for green, which is great. Or it's just a blocker. Her -2, you can destroy target artifact or enchantment. That's actually a reason, that ability is the reason why she's in the deck, because I really needed something. I needed some way that I could deal with artifacts and enchantments, because I felt like the deck was struggling in that. So I put, Freyalise in there. And her minus ability, you know, you get to draw a card for each green creature you control, isn't the most relevant ability, but sometimes, you know, you have, like, 2 tokens and you just really need to draw 2 cards, and, you know, you just do that. So, yeah, Freyalise is great. I like her a lot. Then we have Garruk, Apex Predator. By the way, I actually, like, found out that his name is actually pronounced Garruk. Like, I know a lot of people think it's Garruk, it's actually Garruk. I don't remember where I found that out. Some, like, magic video or whatever. Yeah, okay. So, Garruk is nuts. You know, the ability to destroy another planeswalker, there's not that many good ways to deal with planeswalkers a lot of time, to just straight up destroy them. So, that's great. And then his other +1, you just get to make a 3/3 dude. Alright, sounds good to me. His minus, you just get to destroy something, and you gain a little bit of life. And then, you know, his minus is really good if you're playing in, like, small games. Like, if you're playing, like, you're playing, like, 1v1 or whatever, and then you get that off, and then, like, their creatures get bigger when they attack. It's just so good. Garruk is awesome. I love him. And then we have Garruk, Primal Hunter. And Garruk is awesome. So, he makes tokens for his +1, and it's a 3/3, which is awesome. And then his minus, you get to draw a little bit of cards. I've done that before, like when I've had like Deathbringer Region, drawn like 5 cards, which is super awesome. Or sometimes you just randomly like kill off Garruk right when you play him because you really need to draw like 1 card or something. I've done that before. Or sometimes you just have Horde of Notions out, actually. Sometimes Horde is actually really good with Garruk if you set up that synergy. And then the minus, you know, getting like 12 6/6 tokens a lot of times is enough to just kill people. So yeah, Garrick's awesome. And then we have Gideon, Champion of Justice. One of our friends who doesn't play Magic that often is like obsessed with Batman, like obsessed, and so like our friends built him a Batman themed deck, so all the cards have to do with like justice and everything, which is awesome. And Gideon's in there, and so like whenever like we cast it or whatever, I always say it like that. I'm always like, Gideon, Champion of Justice. Gideon's really, really good. You know, it's really good if you don't have a field wipe, and like my favorite thing to do is Gideon plus get like 1,000,000 counters on him and then board wipe. That's awesome, so that your Planeswalker can stick around. And then, you know, exiling all their creatures, all their permanents is really just good reason for people to actually just probably scoop up their cards. Yeah, card's great. Then we have Jace, Unraveler of Secrets. I like Jace a lot. I like the ability to scry and then draw, which I think is awesome. It's not some weird Seer Ambition things where you draw before you scry. Oh, so mad about that card. And then you just get to, like, bounce something for the minus, which is great, and then you get the emblem off, and your opponent doesn't have a lot of cards in their hand, they probably scoop up their cards to you, because they're like, well, all my stuff gets countered. Card's great. Then we have Kiora, the Crashing Wave. Kiora, to me, is one of those Planeswalkers that really goes by the wayside, but I've been playing with Kiora for a while. She used to be in Tassiger, until I took her out, and she's, like, really good. You know, the ability to give something like where they don't deal combat damage to Kiora is really good if you're like, they have one really threatening creature on the board, and you just make it so like their creature just doesn't do anything to her, which is awesome. But sometimes she is very fragile because she only starts at 2 loyalty. So sometimes you just end up, you know, you end up using her minus to draw a card. And, playing additional land is actually, like, really good. It really synergizes well with, like, Shard Convergence. And the minus casually making, you know, some 9/9 tokens sounds good to me. So, yeah, card's great. Then we have Liliana Vess, who's my favorite Liliana of all time. Liliana is absolutely nuts. I really, really care about her tutoring ability. And it's really good when you have, like, things to give her more loyalty so you can tutor more times and people, like, don't kill her because you kill their things. So they can't attack her. So yeah, Liliana is just great. I love this artwork. It's so good. The other abilities are pretty relevant sometimes, but what I really care about is tutoring and putting that card on top of my deck. Card's nuts. Also, this with Jace is amazing. Then we have Ob Nixilis. I really needed some card draw on the deck, and Ob Nixilis provides that, and that's what I really care about in this Planeswalker, is doing that. And then sometimes you just randomly, like, destroy a creature. Sometimes you're like, I need spot removal, and then you just kill their thing. That's great. Then we have Narset, who's just one of the most devastating Planeswalkers ever. You know, the fact that you get to look at something and you get some card advantage, sometimes you look at the top card and sometimes you get card advantage is really good. And then, you know, sometimes you minus because you want to deploy the Gatewatch twice, which is awesome. Really, really cool thing to do. Or sometimes you, like, randomly, like, rampant growth the second time, which is pretty okay. And then her minus, you know, sometimes your opponents really can't actually do anything once you make it so they can't cast non-creature spells. Card's great. Alright, then we have Nicol Bolas. Nicol Bolas is amazing. He's super, super good, super threatening. The fact that you just get to destroy target non-creature permanent also deals with other people's Planeswalkers if they have Planeswalkers and you can't deal with them. So that's great. And then you get to gain control of target creature. You know, sometimes you just don't want to destroy them. Sometimes you want them for yourself, and then you have a blocker for your Planeswalkers. Okay, sounds good to me. And then the minus, you know, casually destroying 7 damage to someone, making them discard 7 cards and then sack 7 permanents. And if you've blown up all their creatures, then they probably sack lands, and that's when it gets real mean. And yeah, Nicol Bolas is not really the nicest Planeswalker in the world. Then we have Ralzaric. I really don't care that much about the plus and the minus. I really don't. They're not really relevant. What I really care about in this card is just randomly sometimes taking, like, 4 extra turns, which is awesome. Like, it's so good. Like, that's really the real reason that Ralzaric is in there, because sometimes you doubling season ult, and then, you know, it's great. Ralzaric's awesome. Then we have Sark and Vol. The other abilities are not, like, really the most relevant thing in the world to me, but I really care about the ults because putting 5 4/4 dragons with flying is really good. Provide really good blockers for your planeswalkers, or, provide, really good, attackers, too, which is awesome. Yeah, card's great. Then we have Sorin, Grim Nemesis. So I've been talking a lot about Sorin and his ult, but it's just super, super good. He's just a card that's, like, absolutely just amazing. You get card advantage, you gain a little bit of life, and, you know, you make, like, if this with Doubling Season is probably just one of the most broken things, like, that you can possibly do. Because you make tokens, and then you make double the amount of tokens. It's just, you ult Sorin the turn you play him, and then you just make double the amount of tokens. That is just, oh my gosh, it's just super broken. I love it. Then we have Sorin, Lord of Innistrad. I like Sorin. I feel like I may take him out in the future, but I'm not too sure. I do like the ability that he makes you a token, so he makes you a blocker for his plus, which is awesome. You can give your team +1/+0 for his minus if you, like, really need to put in those extra points of damage. Or, you know, his ult, you destroy things, and then you get them back onto the battlefield, which is awesome. You get to not only destroy things, but then you get them. So good. Card's great. Then we have Tamiyo, Field Researcher. I remember when Tamiyo came out and I was like, I need it. And originally I was like, I really need to build Bant, but then I was like, or I can just put her in Super Friends, because I was like, what I need is I need a Tamiyo, I need it now, and I need to put it in a deck. So, her possibility, you know, drawing cards is, like, really good. So if you sometimes, like, you have dudes and then you attack with them just so that you can draw cards. Then you can tap some things down so that they stay tapped, which is cool. And then her minus, you know, you get to draw 3, and then you just get Omniscience. Yeah, I really need to draw Tamiyo more because she's nuts. She's super sweet, I like her a lot. Then we have the other Tamiyo, the Moon Sage. I don't know if I've ever drawn Tamiyo. I think I've drawn her maybe, like, once. You know, you get to tap something down, so it's a mini freeze ability. The minus, drawing a card for each tapped creature is, like, really good and really awesome, and I like it a lot. And then, you know, getting an emblem when, you know, you cast something, you just basically get to bring it back to your hand is really awesome, and having no maximum hand size is just a mini reliquary tower, and it's awesome. Then we have Teferi. Teferi's, like, kind of a no-brainer in Super Friends, but I actually really haven't drawn him. So, you know, looking at the top 2, and then, getting some card advantage, and then putting back that card that you don't need is really awesome. So I like that. And then, you know, the minus, untapping 4 permanents is really cool, because you can, like, you basically pay, like, 2 mana for Teferi, and then, like, you get to untap 4 other things, which is great. And then, you know, the minus is so good because it, like, you know, it's super relevant to activate Planeswalker abilities anytime you want. So, yeah, Teferi's great. Then we have Venser. A lot of people pay attention to Venser and really like his minus, but really don't underestimate his plus. Sometimes you just, honestly, plus, like, your lands if you really have nothing going on, but Venser's awesome with Planeswalkers that you really want to downtick, like Liliana Vess. Really good, because then you can just blink her and then she goes back up to full loyalty, which is awesome. And then, or like I said, blinking this with the Oats is some of the dumbest things that you will be able to do with Venser, which is awesome. Creatures you control are unblockable, you probably don't really care about that. Sometimes you do. And then, you know, whenever you cast something, you just get to exile something, you just exile your opponents out of the game, and then they scoop up their cards to you. Venser's awesome. And the last card we're going to be talking about is Vraska. Yeah, like, Vraska's awesome because it makes, like, people, when they have their little things, and they're like, well, I really want to attack my creature, you know, and attack Vraska, but if I do, it gets destroyed. Even if, like, Vraska dies, she dies and she kills something. And then her minus, you know, she just starts to get non-land permanent, so you have a way of dealing with, like, so many things. You deal with creatures, you deal with, like, planeswalkers, you deal with lands, I'm sorry, you can't deal with lands, but you deal with, like, anything, and it's just really great. And then her minus, you know, making 3 dudes, like, blowing up the board the turn before, making 3 dudes, and then killing your opponent's really good. And this also, the minus is really good with, Sark and Vol, because you give your team +1/+1, and, haste, so that's really cool. So yeah, Frasco's awesome. Yeah, guys, that was it. That was it for talking about my Super Friends list. I know these videos were, like, super long, but hey, let me know if you made it to the end. You're great. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. I'll talk to you guys later.